Morning, everybody. Hope everybody had a good weekend, Mother's Day weekend. It is 8:10 a.m. It is May 12th. Welcome to my channel. All right, so obviously markets are up big this morning. They opened up. The gap opened. The gap opened. It opened with a gap up this on Sunday night. China and U.S. trade deal sparking markets huge. Pretty ridiculous move here. Now we had so much overhead supply resistance that I always thought that it's going to take like a gap up to just rip up above these levels, because that's why it was so hard for us to move up. And now, being that futures move up on Sunday, it's like, it can hop over big levels. And a lot of times I saw some chart not too long ago, I think on Twitter or something, where somebody said the majority of the moves happen in the overnight, the big moves. So, which makes sense because a lot of gap ups happen. So that's where we are. It's pretty crazy where we're at right now. Like, just for instance, we're over the all the major moving averages in the SPY and the Qs. 200 to 100 day, we're over them. So it's pretty insane. In futures, actually, though, we're hitting the 200 day and the 100 day right now. In the ES, in the Nasdaq, we're breaking them. So futures in a back adjusted contract, we're hitting the 200-day moving average right to the tick. So we'll just have to see how things pan out. Okay. Earnings is kind of like the meat of the big boys have gone. So we're back, going to get a little more back into normalcy and not have to wait every day after the close or before the open to see what's happening. Other news is Trump's trying to lower drug costs. That is having a lot of pharma stocks plummet. So just a crazy year. All right, this Trump market is definitely not for the faint of heart. Okay, now let's get right into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Stephen Gonzalez. I use market profile, volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day, along with anchored view ops and my bread and butter, the market internals. Okay. Now, just a little side note for myself. I've been I said this repeatedly every day. My edge is definitely back. I'm trading really good. This market under a 30 VIX, really where my edge shines. Every day I've had pretty decent trades. On Friday, I almost hit my target because the market bottomed. I got long near the lows and in the SPY, and I was like long at like 562 and change or something like that. And yeah, I hit 565. It took, and I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna keep going, and it failed, right? And then it went right back up there again, and it was just all right. This ain't gonna happen, but it just sucked because I had a pretty nice trade. I mean, it's profitable, but that's just how trading goes. But I've been really seeing the market really good. Very happy with my trading as of late. It's just that sometimes the cookie doesn't crumble. If I miss a target, because my new execution strategy lately has been once I hit like a 1-to-1 return, I hit my move my stop to break even, and then I just wait for my target to get hit or my break even to get hit. And then there's some discretion in there sometimes, because if I'm like seeing like we're topping out, I might take some off. But I'm trying not to do that, just to really enhance my risk to reward. But anyway, that's what we're talking about here. And hopefully, I do this every morning. You can join me. Give you the market story, the lowdown, the leaders and the laggards, the market news, the economic calendar, all that jazz. And just hopefully you join me every day. Okay, now we're going to get right into the features watches here. We're not going to waste too much time. All right. And let's see what these crazy markets are doing. I definitely think this percentage thing is way off here, but we're looking at Bitcoin over at 104. Unbelievable. It was in the 70s not too long ago. And yeah, Bitcoin's alive. Ethereum up 9%. All right. Now, Russell Russell's up 4.59%. Nasdaq's up almost 4%. Crude, now with this China trade deal, demand is not a worry, so they're almost up 4%. Still regret that not taking that long in the 50s. Nasdaq up on almost 3.93. ES up 3%. The Dow is up 2.53. 10-year yield is up 2%. This is pretty crazy that people are selling bonds with yields are going higher, right? So that is just crazy. The dollar is finally getting its move. Remember, I said I've been wanting to look to get long to the dollar. That is up 1.3. We'll look at that. 30-year bonds being sold. 30-year bonds being sold. Okay. So yields continue to go higher. Okay. Silver is up. I'm sorry, down 1.7. And gold is taking a hit here, down 3.55%. The VIX is down 9%. We're under a 20 VIX. Okay, it's at 19.93. We're under a 20 VIX. All right. Moving on to the Max 7 Plus here, you're just going to see astronomical gains here. All right, so Amazon's up 8.25%, 8.27% now. Tesla's up 7.96. AMD is up 6.4%. Apple up 6.24. Broadcom up 6.05. Meta's up 5.91. I mean, these are just crazy numbers here. Nvidia's up 4.34. Coinbase up 4.33. JP Morgan up 3.61. GE up 2.83. Google's up 2.76. Boeing's up 2.69. Microsoft up 2.06. Berkshire Hathaway up 0.95. And Netflix actually is flat. Eli Lilly, that's one, right? Drug maker, right? They are down 3.34 with Trump saying he wants to lower the costs of pharmaceuticals to like 80% or something like that. So that's kind of crazy, all right? Not that it's crazy, but that's going to be crazy for these types of stocks, right? It's going to really hurt these stocks. So going to hurt their bottom line. So moving on to the sectors, the guts of the market. Who's the leader today? Oh, why is that like that? That's weird. Oh, I know why. So who do we have leading the pack here? I mean, it's going to be no surprise. Semiconductors, that's risk on, up 5.82. All right. Followed by discretionary, that's your Tesla, your Amazon, your Home Depot. Followed by technology, that's your Microsoft, your Apple, your Nvidia. All right. Up 4.38. Energy's up 3.28. Industrials up 2.96. Financials up 2.71. Basic materials up 2.32. Communications up 1.99. Real estate up 1.11. Utilities up 0.29. Staples is flat, and the laggard today is healthcare because of that pharma stuff. All right, that is your wrap up of the watch list here. We get into the economic calendar here. We do have some stuff to talk about here for this week. All right, for this week we have CPI, PPI. We have Fed Powell speaking. So definitely not a data light week. All right, let's look at the week. We have Fed Kugler speaking today at 10:25. All right, Tuesday CPI. Wednesday mortgage, 30-year mortgage. More Fed speak. Right. Thursday's PPI. It's interesting we skip a day in between PPI and CPI. And then what else do we have here? Just trying to see. Fed Powell speaks on Thursday at 8:40 a.m. before the market opens. Interesting, right? Friday, Michigan consumer sentiment. All right, so definitely have a decently packed week. As far as earnings here, let's look at those. We'll just go through some highlighters here. Fox. Let's see. Fox. I'm just gonna look. Hertz. ASTS. AST Mobile. Space Mobile. Plug. JD.com. Honda. Under Armour. Nubank. Sony, Tencent, Cisco, Baba, Walmart, John Deere. Just trying to see the highlights for this week here. Kava, Applied Materials, and that really wraps up the week. So nothing market major moving here. All right, it's not like Nvidia. I think Nvidia reports at the end of the month. All right, moving back to news and economic calendar. Of course, the news of the day is that U.S. China agreed to a trade deal. All right, let's just look at the news together. All right, U.S. and China reached deal to temporarily slash tariffs, easing slump fears. The United States and China have agreed to temporarily slash reciprocal tariffs in a deal that surpassed expectations as the world's two biggest economies seek to end damaging trade war that has stoked fears of recession in roiled financial markets. Here we go. Trump says he will cut drug prices by 59%. U.S. President Donald Trump said he would cut prescription drug prices by 59%, but gave no further details about his plan to lower medicine costs ahead of the health related event at the White House later. Apple considers raising iPhone prices. Apple is considering raising the prices of iPhone of its fall iPhone lineup, a step it is seeking to couple with new features and design changes. All right, Eli Lilly Zepbound outperforms Novo Nordisk's Wegovy for weight loss in trial. Tariff uncertainty clouds outlook for U.S. television's annual ad selling bonanza. The risk of a tariff-induced U.S. recession is hanging over the television industry's annual profit upfront selling season when companies stage star-studded pitches to coax brands to commit to spending billions of dollars on advertising in the year ahead. Just so everybody's aware, right? 75% of the funding, all right, for all the major media is from pharma. All right, 75%. So who do you think controls our media? Okay, now second to that, New Zealand and us are the only countries allowed to advertise drugs, pharmaceuticals. Nobody else is. All right. So very interesting. Now, gold, like I said before, that's definitely getting pushed down by this tariff relief. All right. Oil prices are jumping up because of the demand. All right. Let's see if anything else here big. Let's see here. Let's see. Uber's got a price target raise from 68 to 76. All right. I mean, basically, the big news is a trade deal and the drug promise from Trump. I don't think there's anything else really we have to get into. I mean, is there any upgrades here that to note? Hilton, Marriott, interesting. Hilton, Marriott got upgrades. Let's see, any downgrades today? Not really, not right now. All right, moving on. We're definitely going to move on to daily charts here. And just astronomical move. It's just a really big move. So we'll get right into those charts here. All right, so there's been an uptrend here, right? That's been good. There's a secondary trend with the channel. Okay, this channel has been definitely resistance, right? Now the market just kind of kept into this balance area on Friday. I believe they did that because of this China trade deal in Switzerland that was going to happen over the weekend. People were like, you know what, not going to be holding the bag, right? So we closed at 564. We're almost up $20. Crazy. We're at 582. 582. So just we're all the way up here now. Look at the top of this channel. We're kind of coming towards the top of this channel. Okay. Now if we look back, 582 is about right here. If you look across, that is previously monthly low, I believe, of February. February's lows. Okay, February's lows. Okay, so that resistance is around 583 or so. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So you got the channel resistance and you got this 583. Don't know if that's going to hold. We'll just have to see. This is a pretty big move from this bottom here. That is a pretty monstrous move. Okay, so let's look at futures to get just a different look. Okay. So you can see in futures, we gapped up. See this balance area? You gapped up, right? And went to this second resistance area, which is around 58.36. We are past that, okay? Past that. At the 100-day moving average here. 100-day. Right there. Okay, so that's what's going on as far as the S&P 500. Now we go to the Qs, right? Qs have this channel as well. Same secondary trend line, primary trend line, right? They were battling this 200-day moving average and they could not break out of it. Well, now you take a gap up on a Sunday night to get over that, right? And where are we at now? 50, let's call it 507.90. You notice we're right by that channel resistance. Okay, right here. It's kind of nuts. Right up against that channel. Okay, if you look to the left, you don't really have a key level up until I would say around 512. Okay, there's not really a great resistance area there. So a little murkier here. All right, let's look at the futures. And you can see we're crushing through that 100-day moving average on futures. Okay. Now, actually, disregard this because this is a back adjusted contract. So we'll go to the back adjusted on Ninja to really show you the moving averages that they're battling. But you could just see the big gap up, basically a big exhaustion gap because look, you have resistance here that we're over, resistance here that we're over. Any shorts that were here are getting crushed. Crushed, right? So actually, you look to the left here. I'm sorry, before I was saying in the Qs, but look in the Nasdaq, you do have resistance at around 209.70 right there. 209.50. We're right at this resistance here, right there. Okay, that's resistance. So that's your Qs. All right, now we're gonna head over to our triple-headed monster. Look at that bond market. And look at this wedge, right? Remember me talking about this wedge? 4.2 yield has been the most traded price of the last 5 years, where we're hitting this right now. See that? You hit that. And also hitting that anchor VWAP for 2025. Okay, so we're hitting the top of this wedge. What do I think that's going to happen from now? I have no clue. But people are selling bonds and buying stocks. Okay? So yields are going to go higher. Generally is not very good for the market because the higher yields go, the more attractive it looks, but it's pretty nuts. Okay? This is your triple-headed monster. So now we're going to go to our dollar. The dollar, like I said, I was looking to get bullish on this dollar. And look at that move. Remember I said if it breaks out of here, it should be a nice move. And where did it hit? That trend line, right? 50-day moving average. So keep an eye on that dollar. Okay, and now again, generally this too, a stronger dollar is not usually good for commodities and equities. Okay. Now we're not at a strong dollar like we were back up here. But I'm just saying that's generally, that's just generally what I'm saying. All right, now we go to our fear factor, our 30 days out of fear. Where are we at? We're pushing down here. We're at a 19.83. So fear is definitely leaving. We're at the 200-day moving average in the VIX. We just have to see what happens here. So definitely with this big move, you're going to have a crush, a little bit of more of a crush in the VIX. Okay. So we closed. Where did we close? We closed at 21.9. 21.9, almost 22, and we're down to 19 and change. Okay, so pretty significant move there. All right. Now, as always, what I've been doing, I've been giving you the 1 hour futures charts. The 1 hour's futures charts. Okay. So let me give you those. Okay. 1 hour's futures chart. Big levels we could talk about. And let's put that up there for you. All right. This is our 1 hour chart here. Just giving you generalized landscape of what I've been seeing. Okay. And we'll just talk real quickly about these levels. All right. Now, if I push this down, right, let's look at this. So we have this channel, right? Notice this resistance. This channel's been pretty good at being resistance, right? Then you get your uptrend from here. Now, the most traded price, 57.16, 57.17 right here. But this is the most trading price of the rolling year. I said we had to get over that in order to get a real move higher. Well, we did. And we also broke the anchored VWAP. That's that yellow line of 2025. Okay, that's the anchor VWAP. This is the anchored VWAP from the all-time highs. Buyers are back in control, folks. That's what that's telling you. Okay, buyers are back in control. Okay, and we also had ultimate balance here. That just fuels this move even higher because that means the most traded price of the month and of Friday and of the rolling week is this 56.75 about. Okay, and big moves happen from these levels. So it was the most agreed upon price of the last month, basically, and now we're moving higher. So it's just going to fuel this move higher. Okay. So what I'm looking at today is this top of this channel lines up, okay, with supply and this high volume. See, we just knocked over this high volume node. So now we're holding it over there. And then the next high volume node you have is here. Okay, so we could stop right around here, around 5,900. So around 5,900, I'm really curious if the market gets up there, what it will do. Okay, like does it top out here and then we finally start to just go back down to the other side? I don't know. Okay, I don't know. But I just wanted to keep this on your radar, these levels. Okay, just a big move, big move. So let's go over to our NASDAQ and look at the same stuff and just look at the levels in the NASDAQ. Okay, so in the NASDAQ, that channel's also been honored, right? You can see all the resistance, resistance, right? And then you have an uptrend line down here. Okay, you can see the big gap up right here. Most traded price of this year is the 196.74. We could not go lower than that, and now we're above. Now we have a big key level here to talk about. That is your Nasdaq's most traded price of the rolling year. That is 206.84. That is this high volume node. The market has now went over this level. Okay, so you want this level to be support. So maybe we push down, hold it, and maybe hit the top of this trend, the top of this channel, right? The top of that channel, right? Let's just say if we do this today and we start to push up, is around 212. You have supply zone here. It is a monthly high, okay, up here, right here in this white. All right, so you got our anchor VWAP. So that's the 2025 anchor VWAP right there. We are well over that. Anchor VWAP from all-time highs, well over that. So just very strong move. But I will be watching if when this channel up here gets hit. All right, when it gets hit, I will be cautious on longs, especially if it moves into the supply. All right, that's what the hourly chart analysis here for you guys. Hopefully that is helping people because it's been helping me really put stuff in perspective of where we're at, the macro look, right? The macro look. Now I'm going to change over to the ES futures analysis here. Let's change over. And we'll get into the market profile, volume profile analysis here. All right, big gap up, all right? And before I do that, I promised you guys daily chart of the ES. Okay, so this is ES on Ninja. You don't have to see the back adjusted all fixes all the past here, and you don't have to worry about. You can see in TOS or Thinkorswim, it doesn't really like adjust all the back adjust. It's the levels will match this, but I just want to show you guys actually in futures what the ES is doing for the daily chart. See, it is pushing over the 100, and the 200 day is at 58.79. So, like I said, that 5,900 level is very important. 5,900. You can also see it's the bottom of this level that we broke. Okay. Now, as far as, and just to give you guys a better view down here, okay, as far as the NASDAQ, right? Let's look at that chart and look at that. It is broken. There's that most traded price of the rolling year. It's broken through the 100 and the 200 day. Okay, but it's also where this Portland level here. See that Portland level that got broken? We're right there. That's why we're stopped here. It's the breakdown level right there. Boom. Okay. So just wanted to show you guys that. All right. Let's go to our ES. Friday was a nothing burger. All right. Friday was a nothing burger. I can get rid of that. Okay. Friday was a nothing burger. So how do we look at this today? Big gap up. All right. Big gap up. So you can see we were just in this consolidation and now we ripped up. Right. So number one, whenever you got single prints right here, that's emotional buying. In this case, 5,800 to the tick is the 50% retracement of this move. Keep that in mind. Okay. Gap fill would be 5710. 5710. That is Friday's highs. Okay. This big consolidation, you do not want to revisit this. All right. That would be definitely weak for the markets. Okay. Definitely weak. So, what can we see in this session, right? So, this is a big, big gap up, all right? And you can see the volume getting concentrated to the top here, okay? You can see the most traded price of the overnight is 58.50. 58.50. All right, so, and we have single prints here, starting right here, all the way down to here. Now, those single prints become an area. It could be weak if the market gets weak, but if they hold, okay, if they hold, then it's bullish. Okay, so the more time we spend up here, the more time we could get a move higher. Okay, that's how you have to look at this. The market's telling us they're accepting prices higher, right? It's not like we moved up and we're down here. The market's telling us they're accepting the prices higher. Okay, so a couple things here. Got a demand zone here. All right, we have our single prints. We have a demand zone down here. A very important level that I'm going to be looking at today is the week to date VWAP. Okay, so this VWAP is the anchored VWAP from Sunday's open. That is going to be a very important VWAP. It's basically the VWAP from, like I said, the market open on futures. Okay, that's at 58.18 right now. So I'm going to be watching this as it keeps markets moving. It's going to keep rise. If it rises and matches up with this demand zone, that could be a nice long there. Okay, so I'm going to put this demand zone here as a level to watch as well. Any move down away from 58.50 should cause some type of correction, right? Okay, so it's kind of what I'm looking at. And remember, these big gap ups are not easy to trade. Not easy at all. You might have people take profits, right? You might have the first moment that the market starts to correct. People who were short get out of their positions, right? So there's a lot of things that could happen here. All right, so we're just going to get right into scenarios. I think it's going to be pretty simple for myself. It's a Monday. It's a big news. It's a big gap up. Right now, this doesn't get me super excited because the big gap ups are never easy. All right, so let's just get right into scenarios here. All right, sorry about that. Let's get into scenarios here. I'm gonna put that up again. I just had to talk to my daughter about something. All right, we're gonna get into this. It's gonna be pretty simple today for me. All right. So price is up here. We're hanging out at that 58.50, the most traded price of the overnight. Okay. So a couple things I'm gonna look for here. One, I wouldn't even mind a push up, break the overnight highs, right? And then get some type of correction going through 58.50. 58.50 can hold. It could. And then can go higher into that 5900. Remember, 5900 is really the level I'm looking for that we could possibly get stopped at. Okay. Now, also, we can just push down right into this demand zone, right? Like I said, what's going to happen is people taking profits. And what else is going to happen is shorts thinking, oh my, if we fall, I'm getting out. I'm going to get out of my shorts, right? So what's going to happen if this anchored VWAP lines up with this demand zone? That level is going to be, let's see what that level would be around, okay? 58.28, 58.28. That will definitely be a level that I'll be watching. The anchored VWAP from the week to date, all right? And you could bounce, and this could really cause us to go up. There's single prints from the past here, and really hit that 5900. Okay. Now a little more of a bear trap here. If you really start to push down, boom, you break this demand. Go into these single prints. Anywhere in these single prints, I would say, and your midpoint, your 50% retracement is 5800. Right here, especially 5800. If that holds, that could maybe make a move higher. Okay. Anything below this, I would think the market was probably be pretty weak. So yes, could we bounce here? But I would probably less likely want to be long. Okay. Moving on to bear side. Okay, so if you are bearish, right, I would like a move push up, maybe even hit that supply 5900, then make a couple higher lows, come all the way down to that most traded price of the overnight. If you go there and you don't get support, you can rip down, test that week to date view up, and then you're going to test these single prints. Now, these single prints in a weak market should get sliced through like a hot knife through butter, like this. Boom. And this should make quite a move and put some fear into longs. And we could find ourselves taking out the overnight lows, okay, and going back into range. That would be pretty bearish, okay. I have to say right now, what I think that I just want to go short, not really. I'm probably not a fan of shorts today unless something presents itself. Okay. So that's, I'm not even going to give too many scenarios here just because I don't like with all this exuberance. I don't think shorts is the side you're going to want to be on today. And like I said, unless something happens in the market that's really devastating. All right. All right. Let's finish it up with the NASDAQ. All right. Okay, we do have our most traded price of the rolling year here. That's this box. Okay, let's mark off some levels here. We have 206.8275 is your 50% retracement of the overnight. You do have single prints here. Oh, that's a horrible line. You do have single prints right here. That's our single prints. Okay. Now the difference here is, well, the single prints and the 50% of the notes it is the same. It kind of lines up right with that most traded price of the rolling year. Okay. This demand zone lines up with the most traded price of the overnight right here. All right. Now remember, 212 about is supply zone. Okay, 212. All right. Gap fill, we're looking at like, what's that level? I mean, it'd be crazy if we got down to here today, but that level is around 202.78. Yeah, I don't really see us probably coming down here, but let's just mark off the gap fill here. And this is basically our range we broke out of. Okay. So, and we have most traded price demand zone here. Okay. You have a rising week to date anchor VWAP here that I'm going to be very conscious of. And I like it that it's hanging out right at the most traded price of the rolling year. That could be good support for the market. Okay. So let's get right into it. The NASDAQ. And we'll go bull. We'll go bull side because it's pretty much bullish today, right? And if this market rips higher off the open, I'm probably not going to do anything but watch it. I'm going to wait for some type of pullback. Okay. So price is right here. So what I expect to do is if we opened here, let's go up, break that overnight high, maybe get a pullback here. In this demand, in the most traded price of the moment, this could hold, and then you can just work yourself up to this 212 and have supply here. Okay. Next move is pull down, pull back. Where do you go? Into single prints, into the 50% retracement, week to date VWAP. You get support here, and you can make your move as well. Okay. And you do have a little bit of a higher spot, but I wouldn't love this because if you drop under this most traded price of the year, I'm not saying it's bearish, but it's definitely not bullish. Okay, I'm not saying it's all out bearish, but I wouldn't like to see this challenged. So you could pull back into here. This would have to be a quick recovery to me to be interested, but I'm not probably too interested in that. All right, now going to the bear side, like I said, there's not much that I'm like, ooh, I'm loving this setup for the, not really. All right, I'm not really a scalper, so like I always say, sometimes scalpers ignore what I'm saying because this is just for me. I'm kind of like a intraday swing trader, I will call it. All right, try to get the meats of the move for the day. All right, so if I am a bear, what would I like to see? I'd like to see a push up right there, knock the overnight highs out, now pull back, and I like to see this level right here. The level would be the most traded price of the overnight is around 209. So 209, right? If you lose that, that's longs from the all in the overnight. That's where they are at. If you take that out, you're probably going to come down and test the week to date view up and the most traded price of the rolling year. Okay, and the 50% retracement of this move. If you take that out, yeah, this is going to be pretty bad, right? Now you got the POC. This is the POC. You can see this is also a high volume node here. If you take that out, we are going to probably take out the overnight lows and possibly fill that gap. Now, like I said, this is highly probable. Probably not, but I have to put this in my scenarios. Like I said, I am not a fan today of just being all out short. I think that's probably going to have some small moves like that, but not big ones unless something changes, right, in the markets. Okay. That is my scenarios today, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed that analysis. Please smash the like button if you did. Okay. And as always, hopefully you guys can join me every day. I do just give you the market story, the leaders and the laggards, the market news, the economic calendar, and all the analysis I just gave you. Again, I'm on Discord. You can join my Discord on my YouTube homepage. All right, join it up. I still give analysis every day, every morning. All right, and I'm probably going to start going a couple sessions live a week again. All right, so hopefully you can join. If not, I'll see everybody tomorrow. And remember, no trade to trade. Stay green, and have a great day.